Welcome back to another episode of Outside the Box, a podcast where we unpack the impact of business relationships. I'm Vanessa Griffiths,
And I'm Olivia Villalta.
and we are your podcast hosts and the co-founders of Gift Better Co. And today, the topic that we're covering is networking and the power of networking in business relationships. But Olivia and I are a little rusty on the podcast recording front because we've been out of office and then very busy. So we're going to loosen things up with a really in-depth question card. I already know the answer to this, but that's fine. What book are you reading right now?
Ooh, I am reading a book that Vanessa gave me called Book Lovers. That's what it's called, right?
Yep.
Book Lovers.
By Emily Henry.
So good. I'm probably a quarter of the way through or a little more. And it's like a reverse rom-com where the uptight businesswoman in New York who normally gets left for the man that meets a baker in a small town. It's about her love story. And I love it.
I love it too.
I love it. Honestly, that's probably why I'm so tired right now because I was up till like 1:30 reading it
Oh, wow.
after soccer. Yeah, I'm so tired.
Okay, no. You're tired because you got back from soccer at 12:30.
Also that.
I was
Also
like,
that.
like when you said that, I was like, oh, you read for so long. No, you read for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't
I
blame the
was
book.
pretty wired from soccer, but I'm not blaming the book. I just also was up late reading.
You literally said that's probably why I was up for so long. So you blamed the book.
Anyways, what are you reading?
I am listening to a book called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which is about a group of friends that design a video game and launch a video game. And so I'm just at the part where they're kind of transitioning from students who took a semester off at MIT and Harvard to finish this video game to like, oh, they have to run a business now because they actually are publishing the video game. It's like businessy, but there's definitely going to be a love story, and it's also very character driven, which is cool. And then I'm also reading a book called Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone or something like that. And that's a murder mystery kind of thing. I'm not a huge fan of that genre, but I'm trying to not read just romance novels. And my brain is not doing well with nonfiction right now, so I'm just trying to force myself to read anything except for a romance novel. Which I don't know why I'm doing that, to be honest. I should just read them.
What you like.
But I like a lot of things. Like, I'm trying to just remind myself that I do like reading other things. So
Fair enough.
I do like it. It's just harder to get through. Because a romance novel is it's almost like watching a Netflix movie where you know how it's going to go. So you don't have to be so involved in the
That's what I keep
actively reading.
That's what I keep wondering about Book Lovers is Vanessa said it was one of her favorite books. So I keep wondering, like, is something going to happen that's going to be like a twist and really catch me by surprise? Or do I just think what's going to happen is going to happen?
Where are you at in the book?
She just met the publisher in the small town, and not the publisher, the editor in the small town from New York. She knew him from New York and he was an asshole in New York, whatever. And they just got caught in the rain. And then she was like, we can't do this.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
No, not much about it is surprising.
Okay.
Like, no.
Obviously,
I just like how confrontational they are with all the tropes. They just like directly are like, this is the trope and this is
they're like kind of
she's
beefing each other
actively
all
like
the time.
revolting against the tropes that she literally helps publish all the time. She hates it. I love that. Yeah.
So good.
So today's podcast is about networking, which Olivia and I have a tumultuous relationship with networking. I think we both kind of hate it a little bit. I hate the idea of it because the term networking to me just comes off as fake.
We're also coming off a week fresh of so much networking. So this is a good time for this podcast.
That's why I've scheduled that for today, because I think we have a lot of insight based on a week of 9 to 5 networking, 8 to 9 networking. It was crazy. So we just got back from WeBank Conference, which is the Women's Business Enterprise National Council Conference.
I kind of thought the C stood for conference. But
no.
That's always confusing.
It's WeBank Conference.
Got it.
Which was in Denver. So we were networking for a week straight. And all kinds of networking. Networking in situations where the whole event was geared toward networking and meeting people, networking in a more laid back environment. So there's like different kind of parties associated with the event where if you're smart and serious about it, you're networking, but if you're me and Olivia, you're sticking together and actively avoiding people. And then networking like just in the wild, bumping into somebody and starting a conversation with them kind of thing. Um, which honestly I've realized that we do best, I think, is like the more laid back situations. Um, to give a little bit more context, so WeBank conference is like a very traditional expo floor style conference for the most part. There's also sessions and panels happening at the same time in different rooms, so you can go and learn from different thought leaders in that are covering a bunch of different topics. But there's also the expo floor aspect, and with WeBank specifically, our buyer, which in this case is supplier diversity teams of gigantic global corporations, are set up with booths all across the expo floor, and our job is to go and pitch to them. So that's like one level of networking that's happening the whole week.
Which
Is
I think that is the level of networking that we thought was gonna be the most important last year when we
Yeah,
went to WeBank, and that's where we focused most of our time.
yep, for sure. And we actively were like, "Oh, the day's done. Cool. Glad that's over." That was exhausting. This year we also, because we were certified as women-owned businesses, because we had to pay for a certificate to let people know that we were women that own businesses. We were able to attend meet and greets. So we did 2 different days of that, but meet and greets are a little bit more personal and intimate. So essentially, instead of having Amazon and Google at different booths, they'll each have a different table in a much smaller space, and there will be, say, 5 women or 5 people that work for women-owned businesses. They're talking to that one person about what their business does and learning about how they can work with Amazon or Meta or Toyota, whoever that is. Um, that was really helpful for us this year. I think less for like the direct like transaction or potential transaction that came out of that, but more for getting to know the people a little bit better so that we could then talk to them in a more laid back environment and like have a reason to go up to them or have some level of familiarity with them.
Hopefully be a little bit more memorable so that when we reach out, maybe there's something specific that we can mention that makes them remember our conversation.
For sure. And then the third level is like very laid back. So the parties that were happening around the conference, honestly, even like walking around the hotel and bumping into people that you knew, or um, even
Inviting people to the lazy river.
the amenities at the hotel. Um, yeah, so there was a lot happening around the conference that wasn't. Oh, the events were directly tied to the conference, which is a little bit different. Um, that's like WeBank specific. A lot of the times companies kind of run their own events surrounding a conference because it's an opportunity for them to attract prospects or to treat their clients to some special event, whatever that may be. But with WeBank, all of the events are very closely tied to WeBank, so most attendees have access to them, which is really great because it's a chance for everybody to kind of loosen up. There's music and activities and whatever, and it's just way more laid back than like the bright neon lights of the conference floor. And that is where
Except
we
for the
did.
one event that had bright
Oh,
neon lights that it was like, "It's 9 p.m. Why do I need"
it was like
oh my god,
being.
my eyes hurt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was crazy. It was like being in a school gym.
Yeah, but it was a museum.
It was a museum. Even like, can we get museum lighting, please?
Mhm.
Anyways, that was weird. But those events are great for, again, getting to know people a little bit better. So let's talk a little bit about like why networking sucks.
Mhm.
Because honestly, I think that most people can agree that unless you're a very specific kind of person, like networking kind of blows.
Did we both just think of the same person? No?
No. Oh, no, I'm thinking of a skeezy salesperson.
Oh,
Those, like,
okay.
people that, like,
Do you think
love.
they love networking?
Yeah,
Oh,
because they're seeing it as a sale,
true.
you know?
I guess so, yeah.
People attend not even conferences, but networking events.
And
Ugh.
want to go? I can't imagine.
No, I can't see it for myself, but people definitely do like to network or at least see the value in it enough to be aggressively networking, which
Mhm,
is not the vibe for me. Yeah, so I think that most people, especially entrepreneurs and, like, young professionals or new professionals, people transitioning into a new industry can find networking to be intimidating and overwhelming, which is very valid because it's a contrived social situation where you have to be interesting enough to be memorable, but try not to be pushy so that you don't come across as salesy and you're trying to be authentic, but there is a goal to the actual event. So it just is kind of weird for me. That's how I've always perceived networking, and it stressed me out for a very long time. But my relationship to networking has kind of evolved, especially as I've seen the benefits of it over time. How about you?
100%. I am of the mindset where it's like, I'm 30 plus. I do not need new friends. I do not want to put myself in more social situations than I need to with random strangers, which I don't think I used to be like that. I think I've become like that over time. And I think the pandemic definitely made that worse
Mm,
of like just years of not seeing enough people. But I agree in that I see the value in the way that I think we've started networking. We are very extremes of people when it comes to networking. We either, and we still do this, we either will stand in a corner by ourselves because we don't want to talk to anyone and we're exhausted from a long conference day, and we will wait for other people to come up to us, but sometimes we'll push ourselves out of our comfort zone. We'll meet someone that we've passed by a bunch of times and said hi to and had, like, a mini interaction with, and I
mhm,
think those little moments allow us to feel comfortable to approach someone and have a conversation and actually build a genuine relationship. So I think my opposite, like, love-hate relationship with networking is very extreme. Like, we are either in it networking in a very real way and building a real relationship, or we are talking to no one,
yeah, for
which
sure.
the talking to no one doesn't help us, and we should get better at it, but sometimes we just need a little bit of a break.
Yeah. What you described is, like, exactly my sweet spot of networking. We've seen each other laugh at the same things. Like, if it's in a an environment where there's something happening that we're all just there for or whatever, if we make eye contact and you're laughing at the same things as me, or I don't know, I'm laughing hysterically at something Olivia said, and then I see you see me laughing, like, my goal is always to make it clear that I'm accessible, I'm
Mhm,
approachable.
mhm.
If you wanna come up to me,
Yeah,
I won't bite your head off, but I'm not gonna come up to you.
yeah.
That is, like, how I do it always. It's like, I'm just gonna let people know that I'm fun and approachable, and I'm not scary.
Which
'Cause
I think is a which the fun piece I think is a big part of it is networking events can be so dry and
oh,
boring sometimes, and what conferences do a really good job of, is adding a game or food
karaoke,
stations, karaoke, where it's like you can kinda make your way around the room, but have fun while you're doing it. So, we will spend probably too much time playing whatever game they have at this conference. We were playing shuffleboard, I don't or
curling.
curling. I think what was that other thing? Shuffleboard at the last one? Last year?
Yeah,
And so we'll spend a bunch of time playing that, and someone will come up, they'll be waiting for the table, they'll watch the game that we're playing, and that's an opportunity for us to start
chit-chatting.
having, and it's chit-chatting to kinda also see if there's a vibe.
Yes, it's always, like, constant vibe checks.
And it's I think networking and the way that we've started doing it is just figuring out who do we have a vibe with? How can we start a little bit of a conversation? How can we have fun with that person and build an actual friendship or relationship with them so that we're memorable and it's just genuine. Like, I want to be there talking to you and I want to be having a conversation. Like I said,
Mhm.
have the friends that I need to have. So if I'm actually making a new friend, like I want to be there having the conversation with you. And that doesn't always have to be someone that's young and can have
Mhm.
like a real friendship that we would normally meet on the street or meet at a party here. But it's people that are, 50, 60 years old, but like I'm enjoying talking to you and I'm so interested in hearing about your
Yeah.
story and you're showing me 1,000 pictures of your kids and like
Yeah.
I just wanna hear about your life, and I think those are the moments that end up being memorable because you're building a connection off of something that's not strictly transactional
Yep.
and not so business based so that you can have something real to connect on, and when you eventually meet them later on and they need something or they are in a room that you're not in and they hear an opportunity for you, they're the ones that are gonna speak on your behalf, and I think that's the most important thing that comes out of networking.
100%. I think that a lot of people go for quantity over quality in networking spaces. Like,
We
we
did that, for sure.
oh, I wasn't gonna say us.
Oh, I was just gonna say,
Like,
like,
conference yeah, at
expo
conferences,
floor.
for sure, for sure. But a lot of people do it in a way that's so egregious and, like, very clearly, like,
Mm-mm.
"I'm gonna deliver this message and leave it with you, and I have to go and get
It's a
this message out
pitch.
to 100 more people,"
Mhm.
and that is so, pointless, like, not impactful at all. People might remember you, but they're, like, not very keen to help you based on that interaction, right? I think us learning to go for quality and being able to, like you said, build more genuine relationships is has been such calling it a hack kinda, like, demeans everything that I just said about it being genuine, but it's a hack in that, like, 1, you get to pass the time with somebody who's interesting to you because if if they're not interesting to you and if you're not interesting to them, like, the vibe's not gonna be there and you're probably just gonna separate naturally, which is, like, great, carry on then. Um, 2, you can actually, like even if we meet somebody who can't help us, like, it's very clear from that initial, "What do you do? What do I do?" And, like, they can't help us, especially the 50 plus crowd. They've been around the block. They know people who know people who know people, and, like, that is way more valuable, having them be able to be like, "Oh, I worked with somebody 2 years ago who is now the VP of HR at this company. They might be interested," and da da da. Like, that is so much more helpful than, like, you asserting this pressure on someone to be like, "How can you help me?"
Yeah. I think it also brings it back to aside from networking to know people, it's or to be introduced to people, there's also networking to have mentorship moments with people where
Mm,
they aren't going to be your mentor, but they might suggest something that you haven't thought of, or a vertical or a way to build the business that is going to open your eyes in a different way because they have a completely different set of experiences. And I think that's something that's been super helpful for us also is and we go to founder hours and stuff like that with a lot of people our age, but it's nice to actually meet people from different states, different countries, different companies that have a different perspective that are able to give us insight or ideas about our business as well.
mhm, for sure. It's incredibly helpful to go into networking with a very open mind and not leading with transaction first. And I think some events, especially smaller events and more local events, can feel that way pretty easily because you don't have as much time to relax or, like, see the person 3 times and then, like, get a feel that they might be someone that you connect with. It's, like, trying to get to that really quickly, and that is a
Mhm.
challenge, and I would suggest that anybody who is having, um like, blocks around networking, that they attend a conference in their industry, ideally with a friend or somebody that's also in that industry, like a coworker, anybody, but attending a conference can be super helpful in just opening your mind up to what can happen and what networking can look like if you're a little bit more, um, relaxed about it.
I think that's worth also mentioning times that we have been bad at networking and we've really struggled with it. And to that point about single networking events where you don't have the multiple touch points, if we think about when we've gone to ones in Ottawa where it's a few hours at a museum or whatever it is, I don't think we've done a very good job of networking. We've left with probably no connections, maybe one person that we met and had a good conversation with, but we don't do a good job in that environment where there's not a fun way to meet people and it doesn't feel as organic and there aren't multiple touch points. I think that's something that we can challenge ourselves to walk up to more people or find a way to feel more approachable when it's a bit more of like a stuffy environment, which I
Yeah,
hate, and that's honestly why we stopped going to them.
I get what you're saying, but I don't wanna.
I know. I know.
No, I know,
Like, what do you think we can do differently? You know what event I'm talking about?
oh, no, but that's the kind of event where people are like, I don't believe that that's real.
Like, real networking?
No.
It's like I went to take the picture and
No, it's like
posted and said
it's like,
I wanted to go dress up.
it's like what's it called? What's it called when people go out after work?
Oh, like a
Happy hour.
oh,
Or it's like
après
happy hour.
mm.
It's just a happy hour with whoever's coming from work, and we can kinda look good, and it's lame.
People want to do that?
I don't know why, but they seem to.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
they call it a networking event.
yeah, but that one isn't specifically entrepreneurial or anything, and I
Yeah,
think that it was a lot of, like, company, company, company. Our team sponsored this event, so we're going, and there
true.
wasn't as much mingling. But also, to be fair, because that wasn't an entrepreneurial event, people could be going there with very different, motives than us,
Mhm.
and so we're kinda out of the loop of, like, corporate world. Maybe there
Mhm.
was a lot of mingling between
Like, we
companies, why
know
would we
people
know
that
that?
have gone to that when they're looking for jobs, of wanting to just meet new people.
I can't imagine how that would work.
No. But maybe also people go to those events every time they happen, and then over time, they start getting the same thing that we get out of a conference where we're going to go to NMSCC, meet
Yeah,
the same people from WeBank, and build on those relationships, which
yeah,
we see as very helpful. So maybe that's the only opportunity that they have, and that's kind of how they see it is
yeah, yeah,
the
and
people that
that's
they're talking to, they already met them at a previous event.
yeah, and you raise a good point, being very clear on what you plan or intend to get out of whatever event you're attending or whatever strategy you're employing to expand your network is really important because then you can choose events that align with what you're trying to do.
Mhm.
So, like, to be fair to us, that event is probably not the best place for us
Yeah.
because it's too much of a hodgepodge of people. Every department from a company might be there, and that is not super helpful for us
Mhm.
because for us, we know exactly who we want to speak to. Not to say that we won't speak to people that are not that, but we can't even begin to know who's who at those kind of
Mhm.
events. So going to events where it's specifically people that we want to speak to is helpful because then everybody is kind of in the realm of somebody that could help us, which is nice. But yeah, choosing the events that you go to based on either the association that's putting it on, the topics that are being covered, the panel or the fireside chat, whatever it may be. Um, the attendees is always really helpful, and location is kinda probably dead last in terms of priorities, but really prioritizing and choosing, events to go to that are aligned with those things is really helpful because then you waste less time wondering if the person that you're talking to could help you, and you can be more relaxed and open to everybody instead of trying to, like, narrow in on a specific person. I find that that is really helpful.
Yeah. Hot take that goes a little bit against that is I think also just going to as many things as you can. One thing is for sure being intentional about where you're choosing to go, but sometimes the audience that you're speaking to isn't going to be the one that helps you right then. And I think of, let's say, Ottawa U student events. Like that's a room of future business people that
But
can't
that's
help
not a
me right
networking
now.
event.
Some of them are, and like portions of them are for sure. Like the keynote speaker thing was the fireside chat, and the rest of it was networking where people are switching tables and getting to know each other and asking questions. And does that like directly benefit us now? No, but we're meeting students that might be excited about our business, that might tell someone else about it, that might eventually have a job.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's a little bit different because, like, you are the person that's there. You're not, like, an attendee of the event. Whereas, like
Yeah,
w
that's true.
yeah, like, we wouldn't necessarily buy a ticket for a U Ottawa
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
student event
True.
unless there are like, we
Alumni?
get invited by somebody on the U Ottawa team because for us, showing up for the U Ottawa eHub team, we will do that all day, every day because
Mhm.
they matter to us a lot, and we don't need anything else from them. They've
Nothing needs
been
to come out
s
of it.
nothing needs
Yeah.
to come out of it, but that is just showing ongoing support and nurturing that relationship
Mhm.
more and more over time, which is a huge part of networking that, like, I think a lot of people overlook is, like, actually, what do you do with that connection once you've made it, or what do you do
Mhm.
with that relationship once it's kind of been sparked a little bit? Um, but yeah, choosing to go to events that align really well with, like, either where you are or where you want to be is a really good starting point for not feeling as overwhelmed in networking events because when you have to pitch or introduce yourself to people and you have no idea if they care about what you do, it's so much more intimidating.
Definitely. Sometimes you get halfway through an introduction
Oh,
and you realize,
and
"Why am
given
I
the eyes.
here?" Yeah,
Oh my god,
I
that's the
gotta go.
worst thing.
But then sometimes you start talking to someone and they have stars in their eyes, and they're so excited
Oh,
to hear, you know exactly what I'm talking
I
about.
messaged her yesterday.
She's so lovely.
Sure.
We were for context, we were, going booth to booth, and last year at WeBank, we started going to every supplier diversity booth separately because there are just so many that we couldn't do both of all of them together, and it was fine, but it feels like a pitch, and it feels like you're trying to sell something. It doesn't feel genuine. And sometimes you would meet a random person that you could have a good relationship with, but the majority of the time, you're just exchanging an email and hoping to be able to follow up with them later. So at this WeBank, we had one interaction where we were separate. We were going booth to booth on our own, and in this one interaction, we happened to be together. We went up to the IBM booth, and this amazing woman was standing there. We started explaining. She asked us what we do, and she asked us how we got started, which I think is really our sweet spot of when we can tell a story together.
Mhm.
People tend to be more engaged and we can actually build a relationship because they're excited to hear what we do and what we've done. And we both left and we looked at each other and we're like, did she look like she had stars in her eyes? Because she was like,
Tell
just
me more.
tell me more, just staring at us, asking so many questions. And at that point, that's when we said, it's probably better to not try and hit a thousand booths and meet 1,000 people. Like, let's just go together and really try and meet people in a genuine and more authentic way and tell them our story and ask them about their story and build a connection. And from that, I would say that was one of the ways that we were able to really meet people that remembered us and meet people that later at another event remembered us and would actually come out of their way to come up to us and talk to us again, or we would go out of our way to go talk to them because we enjoyed our conversation with them.
Mhm. 100%. And it's funny that we're, like, so late to that realization because so many people
Tell us
are
that.
always like, "Oh, I love your dynamic," like
Together.
yeah, and you have to think, to be fair, like, the people who are at a conference getting pitched to have gotten pitched to how many people are at WeBank? 5,000 people?
Mhm.
So they're getting pitched to thousands of times over the course of 3 days. So if our little duo helps us stand out, then yeah, we should absolutely be doing that more. And on top of that, like, we do feed off of each other's energy and can, like, tell a story in a way that's way more dynamic than just me telling it or just Olivia telling it. We were just late to that, but
No,
it's
we
good to
don't.
know for next time. And
Exactly.
also, like, thinking back, it's like, duh, that's why people that's why we're better at networking outside of those events because then we're always just together and people can get that vibe easily versus, like, when we're apart pitching.
And I think that's why we have more success when there are fun things going on because
100%.
we genuinely have so much fun together. Like, we got home from WeBank and Sean was like, "Are you guys okay? Like, are you sober right now?" Because we were sober.
Giddy.
We were so giddy from having so much fun over the week and, like, so many hilarious
Even
stories that probably only we find hilarious.
Oh, for sure. And even, like, when things were very annoying and, like, to be clear, it's exhausting. Like, it
Definitely.
a week of networking and being on like that is so tiring. People are annoying, which we'll get to. Um, and yeah, like, things were not that funny, but we had so much fun. It was like a week
So
of
much fun.
sleepovers,
It
the
honestly
grade 4
it
sleepover
was a week of sleepovers. Like, the event ends, it's like, "Wanna go to the fire pit? Let's how can we get to the lazy river?"
let's get
Like,
snack.
oh my god, the snacks. I went
Mhm.
downstairs and sent Vanessa a whole video of the wall of snacks so we could
Yeah.
decide. Anyways, so I think we're really lucky in the sense that we really enjoy each other's company, and it's like, I don't
It's
wanna say
infectious.
I was gonna say it feels like a vacation,
No, it does.
but a tiring vacation that, like, we need a lot of rest from afterwards, but we do have a lot of fun when we go, and I think we make a point to make sure that we have fun because we know that that's, like, when our best selves come out, and that's when it makes it so much easier to build a real, like, friendship with some people, and it's a small group of people that we'll build a real friendship with, but those are the people that we really look forward to meeting at another conference or we keep in touch with afterwards, and those
Yes.
are the people that wanna advocate for us, and we wanna advocate for them, and that actually I need to, like, take a breath because 'cause I'm talking so much, sorry.
No problem.
Because I just realized my train of thought was going in a different direction of something that I wanted to say earlier. Um I think there's a lot of value in not always needing something from a conversation, but also being happy to give what you have, like, received from previous conversations. And I think about when we were, I think, getting, like, mashed potatoes or something. It's a baked potato, I don't know what it was, but we were getting food, and this woman was
I
there
don't recall.
telling us about her business. I'm always getting potatoes. And she was telling us about her business, and, like, our first response was, "Oh, this is the person you definitely need to meet,
For
like,
sure.
have you ever thought about this? We have a great connection with her. When we see her next time, like, let me take your information so that we can connect you."
Mhm.
And people have done that for us, and I think there's value in doing that for other people because that
Sure.
just ends up spreading more and more.
100% pay it forward. Because it's like, that is how like, you can have a good conversation with somebody in that moment, and then it can go nowhere, and that's fine, I guess, but not very helpful for you. You can have a good conversation, and then it like, immediately after they follow up and you follow up, and then you get the ball rolling, and who knows where that leads. That's fantastic. The ones that are, like, sleeper hits, that's like, "We had a really good conversation, but why 4 months later did I get an email from somebody on their team because they thought of us for some
Mhm.
reason?" Like, those are the ones that I'm like, "Wow, you really liked me."
Yes. There's someone that we absolutely love that is, going to come on the podcast. Um, she is someone that we've left every event being like, "Ah, we love her." Like, she's so fun, and she is just really herself at all times. Um, and every time we're like, "I wonder if she remembers us." Like, she remembers who we are. If she sees our face, she knows who we are, but then we see her again this time and she was like, "Hey, that the so this team, I know they reached out to you. What ended up happening with that?" And in that moment, we were like, "Oh my god, that lead that came in, we didn't even realize that it came from her."
And she
And
didn't even tell us because
she
she's like,
she
"I
does
don't
not
care
need the
about that."
credit. She does not need the credit, but she is just genuinely excited to help other people, and I think that's the sleeper hit of, like, how many times have we met her before that happened, and now we really have a great relationship with her that I'm so excited to see where that'll take us, because she and other people we've met are the people in a room that someone is walking by and they will literally pull them from walking by to say,
Yes.
"You need to meet these girls and hear their story."
Yes. It's incredible. And we got that a lot this year. Not a lot, but we got that a couple times this year of people who we only met last year at the conference. As I'm saying, "Hey," they're like, "Hey, did you know that these girls da 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 da?" I'm like, "Oh my god."
Not
I
even
was
last year at the conference, that with good old Raj. We were standing with him.
Oh, yeah,
We
yeah,
had
yeah.
just
Raj
met
was
him that
right then.
morning. "Hey, do you need gifting?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Random people would
So
just walk
nice.
by.
And that to him was probably a joke, but it's like, do
Yeah.
that more.
Yeah, like, "Do you need gifting? Sorry, who are
That's a
you?"
great icebreaker, honestly. It was
Exactly.
fantastic.
Yeah.
No, I think also that leads into, like, please, for the love of all that is holy, read the room when it comes to networking. Try to be empathetic toward the person that you're talking to, especially if they're in a position of, like, for example, at WeBank, the supplier diversity managers or whatever that were at the conference, it is incredibly insensitive and unrealistic to expect them to action whatever you're telling them right then in that
Mhm.
moment, and it's also not productive and definitely doesn't leave a good taste in their mouth if you go on badgering them for the rest of the week about doing something for you specifically. They are there to meet as many people as they can and try to give pretty general advice when they can and connect dots if they can in that moment. But you need to like
Let 'em breathe.
something let them breathe, but also let the relationship breathe a little bit
Mhm.
because those people are like it's their job to empower their teams to buy from you, so they will if it makes sense.
Mhm.
You being in their face for the whole week is like very unhelpful. And for us, I think that that's also been something that has played to our benefit of, like, we are both pretty soft when it comes to, like, selling ourselves, and so when we're having conversations with these people, we just let them talk about whatever they wanna talk about. "Tell us about your kids. Tell us about what it's like growing up in wherever you're from." "Oh, yeah, sure. This is what Canada's like." Like, connecting on things like that and, like, they just then remember those 2 nice girls who do gifting versus, like, that annoying gifting person who wouldn't leave me
Followed me
alone all week.
everywhere
Oh
they went
gosh.
in the conference,
Yeah, so
100%.
being mindful that the people that you're talking to are people, and you can get way more out of a relationship if you just actually build the relationship versus having a week-long pitch or pitching over and over again or being relentless in your follow-up. Just let people breathe and let things do what they're supposed to do because that will not being annoying will pay off way more in the long run.
100%.
Just don't be annoying.
Don't
It's
be
not that
annoying.
hard.
Nope.
Okay.
One, other random thing
What?
one other random thing that I just thought of was our other hack that we stumbled upon in terms of meeting people in, like, a very silly very silly way, which was so we, I think, have talked about lovely Pamela, who we met at previous conferences. Pamela is I don't know, how old did Pamela say she was?
73
73.
or
And
70s. Sorry, Pam.
we have met Pamela at many other conferences. So every time we see her as we're passing by, we'll stop and talk and chat for a bit. And at one point, I told her I liked her dress. And somehow we got her to do a fit check. We're like, Pamela, stand up, give us a spin, explain your outfit. We want to know everything. And I was filming it just because I
It was
thought that
cute
it
and
was
fun.
so cute. And we were also filming content for the conference because I'm sure we've mentioned before, we hate putting ourselves on the internet.
Our word for the year?
Visibility, visibility. So we said, let's film some TikToks and reels and whatever. And just, we're going to be cringe, but we're going to be cringe and we're going to post it. So we're already filming little clips that we are gonna make into a mini WeBank conference vlog type thing. So I was like, okay, Pamela's fit check, so cute to add into the vlog. Then we said, wait a minute. Obviously, fit checks have nothing to do with gifting, but what if we filmed conference fit checks? Because it'll kind of catch people off guard. but from, like, a content perspective, I would find that entertaining to watch of, like,
And helpful.
and helpful.
You
What are
never know
people
what to
wearing?
wear.
People wear some crazy fun things. So, we decided, "Okay, this is gonna be what we're gonna do at the booths that we go up to, or when we walk up to someone that has a really cool outfit, we're gonna ask them to film this little clip." And we would have never guessed at how helpful that, like, embarrassing, stupid thing that we were doing would be for, actually building relationships and networking.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the people that we ended up meeting and talking to and hanging out with at the events later on, a bunch of them came from the Fit Check videos
Yeah.
of, like, we were memorable. That allowed us to actually have a conversation about something that wasn't supplier
You weren't pitching
diversity,
them.
like, that they have to talk about all day, and they're bored of talking about,
Yep.
and we didn't need to pitch them. And at the end of the Fit Check video, most of the time they said, "Tell me about what you do anyways." So,
Yeah.
we got to have really good conversations and meet friends that we really enjoyed talking to.
Mhm.
So, I thought that was really cool.
That was good. It kind of disarms them immediately because they're like, "Oh, I'm not getting pitched, and I'm being complimented." That is so nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, people love an opportunity to well, not everybody, but people love an opportunity to talk about themselves a little bit. So getting that, I'm sure especially as a DEI person at that event was nice because they just are intaking
Mhm.
information that whole week.
And so many people, we would ask them and they would be like, "Oh, I have nothing to say about my outfit." Like, "What? You wanna you what did the cowboy say? I love him so much. You think what did he say? You think I'm special?
"You like my outfit?" Or something like that.
You think
You saw my outfit and you something?"
and you thought my outfit was special?" Anyways, so
So
cute.
cute.
But people would say like, "Oh, I have nothing to talk about." Like, what am I gonna say about my outfit?" The camera goes on them. Every detail, they're
Yeah,
feeling themselves. We get them to do a little spin.
ate it up.
They were shining in these
It was really
videos.
cute. And some people had, like, personal anecdotes about
Oh my
why
god,
they're
yeah.
wearing a certain thing. It was so nice. I really liked
Grounding
that.
bracelets and the hats
Yeah.
from his
Yeah,
mom because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
cold.
I
Oh my
love
god, so
that.
cute.
No, it was good. That was definitely a really good way to break the ice with people, and we were not being strategic about who we were going up to for that. We were just like,
No, no,
"That
no.
person's wearing something interesting. That person
Mhm.
is wearing something cool. That person looks nice enough to do this. Let's try that person."
Yeah.
Or some people, like, we already know and we'll just go up to them. But it was a very good icebreaker. We made a friend who will also be on the podcast, Maria from Panic Panties.
Oh, yeah.
She's our age-ish and just looked cool, and we ended up meeting with her and running into her a few times throughout the week, and it was nice. Like, I'm excited to get to know her and her company a little bit more. Um, yeah, it was good.
It was really good. We also met a handful of other people that have agreed to be on the podcast. It was a great podcast sales channel.
Considering how scared we were about launching that at all, like, broaching the topic of a podcast with people,
Mhm.
because it's and they're never gonna listen to it, that's fine.
Yep.
But if we're able to have the people that we talk to about it on it, that'll be a nice little profile raiser.
And the companies that these people work for,
That's
it will be so helpful for listeners to
oh,
understand how to best work with supplier diversity teams at some of the actual biggest companies, which is
the biggest.
the biggest, which is, I think, gonna be so helpful from, getting something tangible out of listening
100%.
to a podcast episode. It's a podcast episode I feel like we wish that we
Could
had and that we could listen to.
for sure. I'm so
So
excited
I'm
for
very
those episodes.
excited.
I need
Yeah.
to reach out and plan those. Um, let's talk real quickly about what it means to nurture relationships once you actually make a spark of a connection at a conference or at a networking event or even in the wild. I think a very underrated aspect of networking is just meeting people through the people that you already know or meeting people through your job that you really connect with and like letting that turn into something that is fruitful for one or both of you. But let's talk about kind of nurturing those relationships and either intentionally or not intentionally kind of making them work for you. So for me, the one that I always think of as an example of like, "Oh, I guess I was networking, not really," is Zamir, who is like uh, one of the most magnetic people that I know. Just
That's so funny. I wrote a card for him for okay, anyways,
I know.
for something, and I wrote magnetic in the card.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is such a good, word for him. But he is such a light and so magnetic. But I've known Zamir for 12 years now, I think. Um, I think he might have been in high school when I first met him, because I
That's
was in
nuts.
first year when I met DJ.
True.
Or was I in second year?
I was in 2nd year.
Okay, then I was in
Oh,
second year.
yeah. We're the same age.
Okay, so he was in first year.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so I've known Zamir for 12 years now, and we've known each other very well. In every phase, we've kind of always hung out in our well, I think he still has that phase, but like EDM, like ravey phase, we've done that together and like gone to shows.
He still has that face.
Like he just likes EDM. That's fine. So do
Yeah.
I, but I'm old. So, anyways, Zamir has evolved a lot, as have I, throughout the 12 years. And we've stayed in pretty decently close contact. But one day out of the blue, he messaged me saying, "Hey, I'm having this mastermind group. A bunch of my friends are getting together to meet every month or something like that to discuss different business problems and to kind of see how we can help each other out. And we've we've been meeting for a while and we realized that our gap is marketing. Would you be interested in coming?" And at the time, I was like, "What? Why?" I had no idea. Now in hindsight, I get it. I have, like, self-esteem now. But at the time,
I have self-esteem now.
very powerful stuff, that self-esteem. Um, but yeah, so I came to a meeting, and the people that I met at that mastermind that I went to, we probably met 6 more times after that before everybody got really busy and did their own things. But out of that relationship, very first meeting, I am responsible for setting up the Revenue Pulse employee referral program because I literally got a customer for the company in that first meeting, which I had been there for like maybe 6 months at the time, and somebody was just talking about their needs in Rev Ops, and I was like, "Oh, that's literally what my company does, blah, blah, blah." And I got them a deal, crazy. And then so that was the first meeting. Fahad was there, who ended up becoming a very good friend to us, but also our leadership coach. He's hosted retreats for our company. He's fantastic. Through Fahad, we met Andrea, who is his wife, and like the best. I just love her so much. Who else? Seb, who is another. I met different founders who had already gone through the process of getting IRAP funding or raising. And there's so many people in my network from that one thing that I said yes to that I can go to now comfortably and
Wait,
be like, "Hey,
where did you meet the person that told us about Startup Garage? Was that separate?
that was at an actual conference."
And you met them there for the first time? Or you already knew
I
them?
had met them at Foot Locker when I worked there
Oh,
in like
what?
first
Another example
year.
of random
Oh
meeting
yeah,
random people.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that person, so the person who told us about Startup Garage, which gave us our first, what, $10,000 did they give us at the time?
Mhm.
Which also has unlocked uh, I don't e I you we can't even quantify how much Startup Garage and working with eHub has contributed to our success, but I the first person who told me about Startup Garage and encouraged us to apply when it was an idea at the time. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I think we're gonna do something like this, and, like, we want it to give back because of this, and we don't even have a name yet." Like, it was nothing, but I had met him. We ended up, like he came up to me because I was at a booth for Knack, which I had already quit at the time, but I was, like, being contracted to do their booth stuff at a conference here in Ottawa, and he came up to me because he recognized me from back in Foot Locker. He didn't even work there. His friends
Oh,
just worked
what?
there. His friends worked there, and it was in Rideau Centre, so he was always hanging
Okay.
out kinda
Mhm.
thing, not always, whatever, and we were just like, "Oh, hey," and then we got on the topic of business, and he was saying that he was there because he had started a company, and then he started letting me know about Startup Garage, and was like, "Just apply. Just do it. It doesn't." I was like, "We don't even have a business name yet." He's like, "Who cares? They'll be interested." I was like, "Okay." And that has unlocked I don't know if we would have applied for Startup Garage.
No, I honestly don't think we would have, because I don't think I would have heard about it for long enough that we probably would have been maybe
Way
too
too
far
out of
into
the
the
realm.
business and out. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that has, like I said, unlocked infinite resources and, like, sales and connections for
Mhm.
us. But yeah, you never know where things are gonna go, so just be a genuine person all the time.
Mhm.
As far as networking, the biggest tip is get really good at being yourself and get really comfortable with
Mhm.
being yourself in any situation, and then let that play out how it does. Try not to force things. Don't feel like you have to put anything on, because then those connections that you do make will be genuine, and you won't have to put on for different people. Like, that is the most stressful thing for me. The idea of, "Oh god, which version of me did that person meet, and, like,
Yeah.
what do I have to be right now?" Just be yourself and let yourself connect with the people who vibe with you on a real level, and then just trust that that'll work out.
Sometimes networking isn't about intentionally networking. It's just about building a relationship, and like you said about Foot Locker and that example, if I look back at my university experience, I had friends that were a year younger than me because I was a TA for a presentations class. And because people are all basically the same age, you become friends with your students that are like, I ended up being in classes with them later on, doing group projects and actually becoming friends with them. And if I think about those relationships, one of them ended up starting a women in tech mastermind group that I ended up joining, which was great, which ended up leading to potential business for our team, which is really cool. And two of the other people from met them the exact same way as the women in tech group. Both of them ended up becoming co-founders together of a really cool company in Ottawa. I think they're one of the fastest growing in Canada. And they have been super helpful to us in terms of still maintaining that friendship and checking in every now and then. And they are never shy to give advice and tell us what they've learned because they are further ahead of us in their business. And that's been so helpful to learn from other people that are our age, that have gone through Startup Garage, that have gone through similar programs and had similar experiences, to just learn as much as we can from the friends that we have around us. And I think I'm really lucky to have maintained those relationships and to have met people that are so willing to help all the time.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree. So, in summary, don't stress if you're not good at networking right now. It's probably just a confidence thing that will come with time. And the best networking is not actively networking, it's just getting to know people as authentically as possible and letting things happen organically. And you cannot force or rush that. At the same time, still continue putting yourself in situations where you are going to meet people that might help you, or try to go to things that align with where you're trying to go or where you are right now. But keep in mind that authenticity is going to make you stand out to the right people when the time is right.
Agreed.
That's it?
Great summary.
Cool. Thank you so much for listening to Outside the Box. We will talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.